Welcome to the Morning Blitz with John Abraham, Captain Cool, and the Bandiman Bailey Lowery. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Captain Cool.
Hello and welcome in to a Madhouse Monday here on the Morning Blitz. John Abraham, Captain Cool, alongside the Bandiman Bailey Lowery. And Bandy, oh, what a week it was. Oh, we had a fun time watching some college baseball, getting a little bit more of the NBA Finals, getting a little bit more of NASCAR, which I personally really enjoyed. Sonoma was a complete trip. Absolutely ridiculous stuff that we will get to, as well as, a lot of video game news that I know This isn't a video game show, but we also love video games, Bandy, and we got plenty of it from Summer Games Fest or whatever it's called, which has kind of just replaced E3 altogether.
Yeah, kind of sad in a way.
It's very sad, but at the same time, we still get what we loved from E3 just in the form of these virtual showcases that, I gotta admit, have me really just geeking for the future. Very excited for video games. Very excited for sports. Very excited for the SEC. And we'll definitely be conversating quite a bit about the trip to Omaha with Ryan Sylvia from VolReport.com. And on top of that, Drudy Arman from Talkin' Ball. But before we get into all of that fun stuff to kind of ease us into the week, because Friday was not a good episode, Bandy. I'll be the first to say it, all right? We were just kind of crawling to the weekend. But we're going back running, and why don't we just talk a little bit about what we got into on the weekend, because I had a fun little brunch at Good Company Calf. I was able to I had a bowl of biscuits and gravy, and I told them put sausage on top. Then I got an ice cream cookie, a mimosa, and it was a perfect start to the day. I went on to the pool, jumped off some diving boards. I'm not as nimble as I once was, Bandy, but I've also, decided to start being more nimble than I was before by getting into aggressive rollerblading. That's not a joke.
Aggressive rollerblading?
I know. It's the first time I'm throwing it at you, Bandy. It's the first time I've thought about it.
As opposed to passive rollerblading?
Yeah, it's a whole different side of the rollerblading world, Bandy. Think of, Jet Set Radio.
Ooh.
Yeah, except for without the spray cans. I'm not going to...
Little Bomb Rush Cyberpunk? All right.
Exactly. I'm not going to be spray painting some walls, though. I'm just going to be enjoying it because I did see the skate park the other day. I got to say, I'm really missing out, and if you guys like to skate, you definitely need to go to the one that's right next to John Hunt Park. Very nice place. I ended up swimming at Dublin Park, which was actually the first time I went to a high dive in my life, which let me tell you about this. I saw a lot of kids. They were very nervous to jump off the 12-foot high dive. Whenever I did it when I was 11 or 12, I had a buzz cut. I remember getting a terrible, terrible sunburn on my head. The first thing I did off of the high dive was a quadruple front flip, because I thought that, I'm landing in water, I should be fine, and I landed straight on my back, and I learned right away that is not what you're supposed to do, but I still have a lot of fun doing tricks off the high dive, watched some NASCAR, of course, and enjoyed a lot of SEC baseball. Of course, the games that I was watching, Tennessee versus Evansville, Kentucky was playing as well, then Florida versus Clemson. I mean, talk about a slate of wonderful, wonderful matchups that, all the SEC teams were able to win. Bandy, what about you? What did you hop into this weekend?
Good amount over the weekend. I mean, we had Summer Games Fest on Friday, so I was able to actually live stream all my reactions to that, so that was actually really fun to do. And now on Saturday, I went to one of my good friends' weddings on Saturday.
Very nice.
Yeah, had a great time. It was up in the ledges, and fantastic, beautiful venue.
I gotcha.
Yeah, honestly, great to just reconnect with people I hadn't really seen in almost 7 years.
Yeah, that's what it's all about right there.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Dance floor was lit, too. The live band that they had were killing it.
Don't tell me about the dance floor, Bandy. I'll get jealous, all right? I used to be dancing all over the dance floor at my brother's weddings. It was just, I'm glad you had a very fun weekend. Next time you have a wedding coming up, Bandy, let them know that I take wedding videos. So I could just hop in there and make a little bit of that extra dough. But
I got you, Van.
On top of all of that, which you guys can also join into the conversation, 256-5764.
97.7
is the number to get in. We're also a week away from the Rocket City Awards going down on June 17th. Make sure you guys email 97.7 WZZN events bandymandbailey@gmail.com to get your tickets. There's only 2 days remaining for you guys to hop in, so you definitely want to get it over there. Reserve those tickets and come and just watch the best of the best that North Alabama's got. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful night. And there's a lot of pressure on me. That's one thing that I knew from last year going into this year. I totally forgot that I had to have the same type of stressful day as I did last year. But Bandy, there was also some basketball. We're going to get this out of the way. Mavs versus Celtics, Game 2 in Boston. Bandy, is it getting to the point where the Mavs might be able to win in Game 3 when
Mavs
they go home?
6.
You just pushed it back one more. Push it back one more.
But what we got, you got Boston playing a pretty interesting way. Like, I mean, they have Porzingis back, but now we're not going to have him back. They might have him back for Game 3.
No.
Lo and behold, what happens to that injury that he went out with in the fourth quarter? But even though Luka's putting up good stats, 32 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists in last night's loss. But the Celtics have a good strategy for him. Luka's been able to kind of hide on defense in the previous series. Like in Minnesota, it was pretty evident where he didn't have to contribute on defense very much. He was able to just kind of play like as an offensive powerhouse and work off Kyrie very well. But now the Celtics are really forcing him to really play like one-on-one ball, forcing him on pretty much every defensive play. And it's wearing on Luka. Like it's pretty evident. Like it's making this Mavericks defense hurt. And the Celtics are taking advantage of it. But what I got to kind of point out is that Drew Holiday is kind of becoming like the hidden MVP in all this.
Okay.
Like on that defensive end, 26 points, 11 rebounds, but he's able to really just put the pressure on Dallas defensively and then just kind of set up for everybody else on offense. Like he doesn't really have to do that much. He did in Game 2. But, Jason Tatum's not really performing to the best of his ability, shooting under 40%. It's really kind of been like the Jaylen Brown show.
Yeah, at the three-point line at that, we saw quite a few from him yesterday. But I will say, for Drew Holiday, he is getting a little bit more of the attention. And it's similar to in the NFL. If you see in the Super Bowl, a lot of times teams will know their matchups with wide receivers. They're going to pick out the 2 top wide receivers for that team. And that third guy up is going to be the guy that really shows out, as we saw with the 49ers and Juwan Jennings just last season. So Drew Holiday taking advantage of being that third guy up, dropping 26 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists. And you do throw out an interesting little question. Is Luka Doncic going to be able to keep up with the pace that the Celtics are throwing at him? Because he's used to just playing the offensive game, and he's got the big body for defense, so he can stop a lot of would-be shooters. But these are the Celtics we're talking about. This is one of the top offenses in the NBA, going up against pretty much one dude in Luka Doncic who, yes, put up 32 points, had 11 rebounds, 11 assists, which is absolutely ridiculous stat line right there. But you look at the rest of his team that he's got going on, Kyrie Irving only put up 16 points. He's not doing too well when it comes to, the defensive game. And then P.J. Washington up there with 17 points, scoring the third most or the second most in this game. These guys are getting wore down to the core, all right?
Yeah. And for one, it's like I've seen like a lot of the comments like and tweets on Twitter. I'm never calling it X.
No.
But all the tweets where it's like, okay, Luka Doncic needs help. Like he needs help around him. It's like he already does.
Yeah.
He already does have the help around him. They just need to actually play.
Yeah.
Because the plus minus has been ridiculous. You got Luka being you have one other starter make 1 3-pointer the entire game. That was P.J. Washington, who went 1 for 5. Luka's, going 4 for 8 is fine. But when you drop 32, you got 11 rebounds, and you're still in the negative on plus minus because you turned the ball over 8 times and got a foul, like something fundamental needs to change here. Like this is not the same team that was playing against Minnesota. That was just pretty much seemingly able to score on a whim. And, and really Kyrie not playing up to that ability, that's kind of showcased that. Like, again, he's a great shot creator, great assist maker, one of the best ball handlers of all time. But you're not really seeing that in this series.
No. And he's in a situation that he hasn't been in too much of, and it's to the point where it's like, how far can he truly go?
Yeah.
When's the pressure going to really break, the camel's back? And right now we're definitely seeing it with this Mavs team. They're horses, of course, but, I just threw that out there because it is a saying. But also going to the free throw line, 24 times and only dropping 66% compared to the 95% that the Celtics were throwing down.
Yeah.
that is also a huge thing, all right?
Yes.
You got to use those free throws to your advantage, and to miss quite a bit of them, almost half of them, is definitely going to show on that final scoreboard. But definitely interesting to see what's going down in that series. As Bandy predicted, Game 5 Mavs were going to take it. It's a different type of basketball.
I thought.
It's a different type of basketball out west.
But guess what? They're proving me wrong.
No doubt about that. And then moving to the NHL scene just to get the playoff stuff out of the way. So far, the Panthers are ahead in this game. They're shutting out the Oilers. Oilers haven't done anything in this series, literally, because of it was just the first game of the series. 3-0, Oilers lose this one, and now they look forward to Game 2. And we're thinking, who's going to be that guy that's really going to, I would say, break the pointless streak that the Oilers are having right now. Stuart Skinner didn't have a really good game in Game 1, and then you look on the other side, and Bobrovsky's just a brick wall. Okay, you cannot get by this guy. It shows in that Game 1. It is going to be a tough series. It's going to last, I'm going to say 6 games, Bandy. Who knows? This might be a 5-game series, and the Panthers are still going to take it and run with it. Just a great performance from Sam Reinhart, Sam Bennett. I mean, the whole Sam squad, and then, of course, Barkov, who, golly, he is pressuring the goaltender all the way through these matchups. Excited for tonight. That's going to be Game 2, and definitely looking forward to it. I want Steve to get this on the airways. I want to see if we can get this on 97.7 because the hockey is just one amazing thing. But
especially playoff hockey.
I know. It is 10 times more aggressive. And the officiating, they lay off. And that's what I love about that stuff. One thing we will be talking about later on in the show is going to be this Rocco's Jello Shot Challenge. Yeah, it's back.
Yeah, Kentucky's there for the first time.
And we're very much excited for that. The only SEC team to not make it to the World Series in Omaha is the Kentucky Wildcats. They just punched their ticket the other day. Very exciting to talk a little bit about their story as well as Florida's story, Texas A&M's path, as well as Tennessee, who lost one to Evansville and then completely obliterated them the day after that. I'm talking like 6+ home runs, and Ryan Sylvia is going to help us talk a little bit more about that performance from VolReport.com. On the other end, here on the Morning Blitz on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandiman. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
Control over doing what makes you grateful with those you love. At the Aldridge Law Firm and the Legal Town Center, we're dedicated to help you with these goals, and we'll be there when life throws you those inevitable curveballs. Let us assist you with your legal needs, whatever they may be or become. You may reach us by phone at 256-534-3188 or online with Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Just remember, we're here to help. Whether it's personal injury, wrongful death, fraud and cheat, or estate planning made complete, we're here to help.
Hello, listeners. I want to tell you a little bit about Minuteman Press and what we have to offer our community. We specialize in paper printing and can help from designing your piece to the finished product. We print media guides for many of the athletic departments at high schools and universities around the area. We typically purchase sponsorships from these schools as well to try and help them with their fundraising. Once we have reached our new normal, we also print all types of marketing materials for you to hand out either in person, via mail, or at various trade shows and events. At Minuteman Press, we're not just putting ink on paper, we're building relationships.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
What's this one, Bandy? What are you throwing at me right now? It's aggressive.
Slayer's theme.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. John Abraham, Captain Cool, the Bandiman, Bailey Lowery here on a Madhouse Monday in no man's land here on the Morning Blitz. Had a lot of fun in the first segment. Time to get on to the second segment, talk a little bit more about some of these SEC teams as they head on to Omaha for the College World Series. And the one team that was able to punch their ticket just the other night was the Tennessee Volunteers, as they were able to beat Evansville in a 3-game series that went 3 games, surprisingly or not. And to help us talk a little bit more about that is Ryan Sylvia from VolReport.com. Ryan, what are your takeaways on this series? And I mean, is it worrisome that they lost one of those games, or are you pretty happy that they were able to take care of it in Game 3?
I'm not sure if it's worrisome. Of course, you'd like to go 2-0 and just get the job done, but maybe in retrospect, it's nice to have that wake-up call a little bit, because it did look like they kind of slept-walked through that game 2 that they ended up dropping until maybe the 9th inning when they kind of woke up again, and then you saw that fire back underneath them last night as they punched their ticket to Omaha. So I wouldn't say it's worrisome. Evansville's a really old team. It's a bunch of 23, 24-year-olds. It's guys that played a lot of college baseball. It's a really good team. Obviously, if you get into one of those top 16 positions where you're playing in a super regional, you have to be pretty good. And winning a regional that has not only ECU but Wake Forest in it is pretty impressive. So Tennessee didn't go into it thinking they could necessarily sleepwalk through it, but you survive, you advance, you maybe get the monkey off your back a little bit in terms of thinking back to that 2022 team that was also the number 1 overall team heading into the tournament, and they ultimately fell in the Super Regionals. Well, now you're back in Omaha for the 3rd time in the last 4 years, 2nd straight season, and you've got to be the favorite now to win the whole thing.
No doubt about that. And, I mean, they may have gotten the monkey off their back, but I feel like they've got a chip on their shoulder now moving forward. Of course, Vitello had some comments made in an interview, and he was able to kind of retaliate against them just by absolutely obliterating this Evansville team 12-1 with a handful of home runs from this squad. Talk about Christian Moore's first one and how that kind of started the momentum forward for the Volunteers to get this win.
That Christian Moore home run to lead off the bottom of the first was a massive swing. Of course, when you look at the final score and you see an over 10-run win, you don't think that one solo shot's going to be that big of a deal, but Evansville gets their only run in the top of the first. Yeah. And there was an error. It got sloppy. It looked like not that they didn't want to be there or anything, but just maybe they weren't as focused, or the nerves were getting to them, and the bright lights type of deal. And there was maybe some question marks, like, this game could get a little hairy. And then Christian Moore sends an absolute rocket, and Tennessee tied 1-1 right after that. And I think it was a statement. It was a big deal, especially for Christian Moore after yesterday he DH'd, or not yesterday, but the day before he DH'd because of some leg soreness that he suffered in Friday's win. And he didn't have a great night, and he struggled at the plate during that game. So he comes back as a 2-home-run day, but that first home run, I think, was a really big deal to kind of not only tie the game up, but send a message to the rest of the team and back to the dugout that, like, we're here, we're good.
Oh, they were definitely there, and Christian Moore didn't just go long once. He went long twice and really helped his team out. And I got to ask you this, Ryan. If Tennessee plays this type of offense against any other squad here going into the World Series, I mean, do you see them just winning it all, or do you think some of the pitching staffs for the Florida States, for the Kentuckys, for the rest of these teams might be a little bit more up to snuff compared to an Evansville squad?
They're going to have their stuff cut out for them in the first matchup with Florida State. They're facing a really nice pitcher against the Seminoles. The offense hasn't necessarily had many issues against anyone, though. They've faced good pitching all year in the SEC, and ultimately they are co-champions in the regular season and SEC tournament champions. So it's not like they haven't faced good pitching. Will they put up a 10 spot like they've been recently? Maybe not, but if you can get a good outing from A.J. Causey, a guy that I know a lot of your listeners are fans of, considering his geographic origin, then I feel like they're probably in a good spot to win that game still. But that first matchup against Florida State could be the trickiest one, I think, for them in terms of pitching matchups. But the offense has been phenomenal. They're chasing the all-time home run record in a season. They're still a little bit behind that LSU team. It's a really tough record to beat, but they're pretty firmly in second place right now. And if they go all the way, they have a chance to end up being the team that's hit the most home runs in a single season.
No doubt about that. Florida State, of course, advancing after beating one of the few northern teams in this tournament, UConn, in a 3-game series. Only took them 2 games, though, as they move on to face off against Tennessee coming up. But it's interesting. I mean, we focus on this Tennessee team. You can't go without talking about the coach, Tony Vitello. Kind of just talk about what he has created with this volunteer squad, as well as some of the history that he's going to be able to make by the end of the season.
He's already the greatest coach in Tennessee baseball history, which is insane because he's only been there for 7 seasons. But as I mentioned earlier, that's 3 of the last 4 seasons you're in the College World Series, which is basketball equivalent to being in the Elite Eight. Like, that's a really tough thing to do. And now it's consecutive seasons as well. He's been the number 1 overall seed twice heading into the NCAA tournament. And that's just not something that Tennessee baseball was really familiar with before he got there. In 2005, they were a College World Series team. They were a really nice – that was one of the better teams in school history, probably the best team in school history before Tony Vitello got to campus. And then it was a pretty substantial drought until they got back to Omaha in 2021. And now I don't want to say it's a failure of a season if they don't get to Omaha. That's not a fair thing to say, but that's the expectation every year, is to be one of those last 8 teams standing. And as I just mentioned, that's a really tough thing to do. It's like going to the Elite Eight in basketball, which Tennessee men's basketball, as good as they've been, has only been there twice in their history. So what Tony Vitello has been able to do in such a short amount of time is really just kind of incredible to watch, turning a program that you could kind of walk into that stadium and sit in the front row because there weren't that many fans there just a decade ago, and now you got to spend a pretty penny just to get into the stadium for some of these matchups. So he's going to have a statue outside the stadium one day. The next thing to check off, though, is national championship, which this team is as built to do as any.
Right, Ryan Sylvia with us from volreport.com. And I kind of got to ask, you brought up the fans, and now that, LSU isn't going to be there, so, I feel like people actually got a chance now, but with the Rocco Jello Shot Challenge now getting back up, how much are Tennessee fans going to be showing out, especially kind of being like a projected 1 seed here heading into the World Series?
I think there's going to be a decent amount of orange in those stands over in Omaha. The Rocco's Jello Shot's always a fun challenge. Maybe it caught Tennessee by surprise a little bit in 2021. They didn't necessarily know what it was exactly. They get another chance last year with a little bit of experience under their belt. Now it's your 3rd time in the last 4 years going over to Omaha. So there's no excuse, I think, for Tennessee not to win that whole Jello Shot contest unless they get bounced early. But I expect there to be a good showing of Tennessee fans there, especially with the expectations that it should be a long stay.
No doubt about that. Of course, LSU able to hit 68,000 Jello shots. And it was almost 69,000. It was a ridiculous money. Nobody wanted to keep up with them. And obviously, LSU able to go all the way. If you're there the longest, you're able to keep buying the Jello shots. Hopefully, Tennessee will be able to do just that. And I talk about the fans. Bandy talks about the fans. Talk about the atmosphere just in Knoxville whenever they were going up against Evansville, because that was a madhouse.
Yeah, that was the loudest I've heard Lindsey Nelson Stadium. The first inning, maybe it attributed a little bit to the sloppy play in the top of the first, but it was from the jump. Tennessee fans were into that game, and Tony Vitello talked about it too. He's like, they're cheering kickoffs. Like it was a fan base in a stadium that was not okay with going home early. They were going to do their part, whatever factor that fans can have on a game. Tennessee fans last night made sure that they would have that in play for the Vols. And And I think it helped. Evansville, I'm not going to say they looked rattled or anything, but that definitely can't be an easy situation, especially as a pitcher, to walk in and Christian Moore hits a leadoff home run and the place is going crazy, and then Blake Burke comes up to the plate and he hits the ball hard into the outfield, and the fans are getting on you. That can't be an easy thing to play in. So that just speaks a testament, though, I think, to what Tony Vitello has built at Tennessee. It wasn't like that just 5-6 years ago, and very quickly he's turned that thing around to being one of the hardest places to play in college baseball.
No doubt about that. Ryan Sylvia from Volt Report is our guest. And before we get you out of here, Ryan, want to talk about the other SEC squads and making it to the World Series. Of course, we got Tennessee, we got Kentucky. Georgia's still in a fight with NC State. We'll figure that out today, as well as Florida. And, well, Texas A&M. Looking at these teams going in, obviously you're going to favor the Tennessee Vols when it comes down to it. But who do you think would be that second team up that is probably the most challenging in the Southeastern Conference?
That's a really good question. I do think it's interesting that we're set to have an all-SEC, ACC College World Series.
It's the whole
no
South.
matter who wins. Yeah, that doesn't matter if it's Georgia or NC State. That it's going to be all SEC, ACC. So I think that's a fun little storyline. I think I have to go Kentucky as that second team behind Tennessee right now. They're a well-rounded team. They can hit the ball well. They have a really nice pitching staff, and it's about depth when you get to this point, especially in the bullpen. That's a big key to win in these tournaments where you're just playing. You get a little bit more of a break in Omaha than the SEC tournament or maybe the regional, but you really need to have some depth in your bullpen. And I think that all these teams have it, but Kentucky is that well-rounded type of team that I think that they're built to go a decent way, which is a cool story for them. Their first time ever going to Omaha. So that's obviously a big deal for that program. And I haven't checked the bracket to see if it would work out this way, but if somehow we get a Tennessee-Kentucky College World Series finals, that would be quite the showdown in terms of rivalry matchups.
Oh, no doubt about that. I was actually watching some of the game recaps today, and my roommate is a Tennessee fan. As soon as I turned either the Florida matchup on or the Kentucky, he was like, turn that off, I'm going to walk away. He ended up watching the entire thing with me, so it was a very good time. But, yeah, Kentucky able to win in that first matchup in Lexington against Oregon State, 10-0 in that first game, and then 3-2, and, of course, knocking that final Pac-12 team out of the tournament. Insane stuff. Ryan, let the people know where they can find you online and on socials as they can follow you throughout this World Series run.
I'm on Twitter at Ryan T. Sylvia, and you can also go to at Tennessee Rivals for our company's content over at volreport.com, of course, gearing up for an Omaha run and covering that. But we also have stuff on Dalton Connect recently. I looked yesterday at kind of his draft stock as the NBA draft kind of comes closer into view with the NBA Finals happening. Of course, football content never stops over in Knoxville. So official visit weekends are happening. We have all the content you need in there to kind of prepare yourself for the next wave of guys coming to Tennessee. So really everything you need under the umbrella of Tennessee Athletics we have over at volreport.com.
Definitely some exciting stuff going on out in Knoxville and now out in Omaha. Ryan, just, get a Jell-O shot or I'm going to be very upset.
I got you.
See you next time, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Good stuff, Ryan Sylvia. VolReport.com is where you can get all the Tennessee information you need to know just to follow even the SEC. It's all there. We got to hop into a break because when we get back, we're continuing with the conversation about Omaha and possibly a little bit more with Drew DeArmond from Talking Ball here on the Morning Blitz on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandiman. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show. followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
Wow, what a word. What a gift. All of us have done things in our lives that we regret. All of us have done things that are disobedient. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Thank God for his forgiveness. Thank God that he separates our sins as far as the east is from the west and remembers them no more. Hey, I'm John East, pastor of Cross Point Church, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison. Check us out at cpcfamily.org.
Eagle Masonry and Installation. It's right there in the name. Eagle is your one-stop shop for block, stone, or brickwork, monument signs, and outdoor kitchens and fireplaces. Eagle also offers the finest craftsmanship and insulation, including fiberglass or spray foam insulation, and of course, insulation removal. Philip Love and his team have years of experience, bringing the region the best in masonry and insulation services. For more information and a quote, visit insulatewitheagle.com or call 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money. You want the right specialist for your recovery. At SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, we understand every body is different. Your muscles and bones are unique, as is your body. Our SportsMed specialists offer innovative treatments and minimally invasive procedures, allowing you to quickly return to the life you love. Locations in Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur, and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. Improving performance, improving lives. The new favorite place for delicious Mexican food is Coralejos Mexican Grill in Huntsville. Check out their reviews on Facebook and you'll see what people are raving about. Enjoy drink specials all day Monday through Thursday, like house margaritas for $3.99 and 12-ounce drafts for $2. Even vegan-friendly entrees on Monday starting at 5. Bingo every Monday night too starting at 7. Coralejos Mexican Grill, 1658 Old Monrovia Road in Huntsville. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram to stay updated on their specials.
Our steady diet consists of food and football, and occasionally some baseball and hoops.
Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid?
97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hello and welcome back into the most energetic show here on the station, the Morning Blitz with John Abraham, Captain Cool, and the Bandiman. And Bandy, you know, the days go by and we enjoy the baseball, we enjoy all that stuff, but you can't enjoy life fully if you don't have all of your other things kind of taken care of. And that's why we like to stress it with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Make sure you guys have a top quality above your head. Fleming Roofing and Restoration, the guys you need to talk to about all of your roofing needs. Whether you're having any roofing problems or you need a full roof replacement, Fleming Roofing and Restoration can get that done. Make sure you look them up online at FlemingHSV.com to fill out your free quote today. And remember that Fleming always shows up. Now, we did just hop into a great conversation with Ryan Sylvia from VolReport.com, talking a little bit about that Tennessee squad as they were able to get the best of Evansville, literally the best of Evansville. Sheesh. But now it's time to talk about the rest of the SEC and where this whole World Series is going to kind of fall into place. And to help us with that is one Mr. Drew DeArmond from Talking Ball, as he got here now from Bill Penny Toyota. Drew, how are you doing today, man?
Good, guys. Good to be with you. We're trying to put the, dot the I's, cross the T's. We got that Rocket City Award Show coming up on June the 17th, and we're all looking forward to it. Trying to put all the pieces in place. But it's a great time of the year. A lot of sports going on. College World Series getting ready to crank up after today is only one game remaining in the Supers, and it's a game 3 with NC State and Georgia, and it'll decide if it's a 4-game, if it's a even split 4 apiece with the SEC or the ACC, or it'll decide if the SEC has swung the pendulum 5-3. Georgia could be the 5th team from the Southeastern Conference in Omaha after we saw number 1 seed Tennessee take care of Evansville 12-1, eased by them. Then we saw a dramatic finish for Kentucky, their first ever trip to Omaha, Nebraska, as they win it 3-2, scoring a run in the 7th inning on basically a wild pitch, and then the pitcher going to sleep, just did not cover home plate. Alert base running by Kentucky, and then in the 9th inning, a tremendous Gold Glove play from Mitchell Daly, who's a former Bob Jones Patriot who played just down the road. He transferred from Texas to Kentucky and made a tremendous play at third for the second out, and they were able to and it ended up being a big play because, as we saw, Oregon State didn't go quietly. They had first and third with 2 outs before the strikeout to seal it for the Wildcats. So the top 2 seeds get to Omaha. We saw Texas A&M also get there. They did one heck of a job. And I believe that they were the 3rd national seed. So the top 3, all from the SEC, get through. And then, of course, Florida, which is not really a Cinderella. Florida was a top 10 team in the preseason, but did not play that way the latter for 2/3 of the SEC season. But they got in. It's all that matters now. They're 34-28, and they sweep a really good Clemson team on the road, and then win that last game in dramatic fashion with a walk-off double in the bottom of the 13th. So Gators win 11-10, and so they get through, and now we'll see what happens. It's been 2 blowouts in Georgia and NC State series. NC State winning 18-1 in game 1. The Georgia bouncing back to win 11-2 yesterday, and so we will have game 3 this evening. And it's going to be really interesting to see if Georgia can go from a team that wasn't even in postseason a year ago to Wes Johnson's first year getting all the way to Omaha, which would be quite an accomplishment. It would be the first time since 2008 that the Georgia Bulldogs would reach Omaha, as the game will be 6 o'clock Central Time tonight on ESPN.
Yeah, that Georgia team, very interesting, especially watching this series. Both of the teams going, blow for blow, but the one that really did surprise me, and I understand that Florida did have a lot of hype going into this season, but being able to beat Clemson in 2 games at Clemson, it is huge, especially with that second game being so close. I mean, do you feel like if Florida did lose this game, even if it being 10-10 or eventually 11-10 in favor of Clemson, do you think the team that won that game would have went on to win, and then Florida wouldn't even be thinking about this trip to Omaha?
Well, we'll see. I mean, it would have been tough. You would have, if you lose that game. Clemson only led one time. They led 10-9, and they had a chance to close it out in the bottom of the 13th, but they did not come close to doing so. To Florida's credit, they earned it and came back to get that walk-off double by Michael Robertson. And ironically, as Mark McLeod, who joined us from the Gator Blitz, told us afterward, blitzsportsradio.com, it was the first hit with the bases loaded for Robertson all year. He was 0 for 7. So that's just one of those things where a guy finally comes through, and certainly the deck would have been stacked against Florida, having to play on the road in a Game 3, and Clemson had not been to the College World Series since 2010. It's always tough on the road. So you wanted to close it out in 2 games, especially if you're the visiting team, and the Gators did that. But I will say this, the Gators had already done a tough thing in Stillwater. Yeah. They were in the Stillwater Regional. They were the 3rd seed. They lost to Oklahoma State in the winner's bracket in the second game of the regional, and they came back through the loser's bracket and had to beat Oklahoma State twice and did it. So they've not done it the easy way. I mean, this is a team in Florida that's definitely playing their best baseball right now. They're going to be dangerous. They're going to get Texas A&M in the first round of the College World Series, so that should be one heck of a matchup. and we'll see, how it turns out. But certainly looking forward to Omaha. It'll start on Friday, and I think the SEC, especially if Georgia can come through tonight, has got a great chance to win another one. The last 3 championships, as we all know, are SEC schools: Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and LSU. None of them are alive now, and that will be in the World Series this year. So it would be a 4th different squad. And Kentucky's really cool because, again, they had a really good squad in 2006 that won a share of the SEC regular season, but they were not able to get to Omaha. And for them to break through this year, they got to the Supers last year. They lost at LSU, a very, very good LSU team that everyone knows went on to win the national championship. But I just felt like I picked Kentucky to get to Omaha before when the brackets were announced. I felt like this was their year. They've got a really balanced ball club, and they got there. And so it's going to be interesting. In Tennessee, they exercised some demons too because they had lost to Notre Dame a couple years ago in a Game 3 at home. This time they did not mess around with Evansville. They let one get away from them because they had jumped on Evansville earlier on Saturday. They were up 3-0, and then I think it got to 4-0, and then a big-time rally from Evansville to get up 10-5 and hold on to win 10-8. But not this time. Tennessee did what they were supposed to do, and I felt like they were in much better shape. Evansville doesn't have the pitching depth that Tennessee does or their lineup. And even though I know Evansville took a brief 1-0 lead, it was very brief as Tennessee got off to a fast start offensively and kept the pedal down.
No doubt about that. Drew DeArmond from Talking Ball is our guest, and it definitely is an interesting World Series we're getting into with Kentucky, of course, hopping into their first. And then for Florida, it's kind of like a fish in a pond full of piranhas because it's the only 3 seed. But you still can't look at them like they're just a normal fish because, of course, they're the Gators, so anything can really go with them making it as well. And then, of course, we're figuring out who's going to get past NC State or Georgia in that matchup in Athens. But, Drew, before we get you out of here, we knew you got to follow a little bit of basketball this weekend, a little high school basketball. Kind of just talk about some of those teams that you were watching over the weekend and are you super excited for basketball? Did that get you into that mood, or have you always just
been... summer basketball is always fun because you get a chance to build your team and get to see guys like I saw Caleb Harrison blossom last year into what turned into one of the best players in Huntsville High School history, a guy that will eventually very likely have his jersey retired and was a first-team All-State player in 7A and really on the super team as well. I mean, he had an amazing senior season. He led Huntsville to their best season in school history, 32-3, and a Final Four in Birmingham. But they played against some really good teams over there in Nashville and at Lipscomb, and it was a really good team camp. You play against a lot of those private schools. The private school league over in Tennessee, especially in the Nashville area, is brutal. Yeah. They got a chance to compete against Brentwood Academy, coached by former Madison Academy head basketball coach Andy Blackson, who won 5 state titles at Madison Academy, went to 11 Final Fours. He's already won a championship in his first year at Brentwood, and I think last year they lost in the finals. But he's done an amazing job continuing to win at a high level at Brentwood Academy. They soundly whipped Brentwood Academy. They were able to beat a really good Innsworth team as well. Innsworth didn't have all their guys, but certainly they beat Innsworth soundly. And then the only really close game they had, and they were up over 20, like around 22-23. But they played another private school from the Catholic League, and that is Christian Brothers. Those guys are. They play in there's a couple of different private school leagues in Tennessee, and they play in one of those. And Christian Brothers is a really good program, really well coached. They came back and after being down 20-plus, got within 4, but Huntsville was able to ease away and win by 10. And then, they were able to, play 2 more quality opponents later they played 5 games in 2 days, and they were able to, and then pretty much, they played Montgomery Bell Academy, another really good private school, and they were able to beat them very soundly. So it was a really good weekend for Huntsville High for what they were able to do. I mean, they were able to play against really good teams. They did actually play one common one. They were supposed to play Centennial, as I told you guys, that beat Buckhorn last year in the Huntsville City Classic. Weren't able to do that because Centennial had a lot of football players missing because they have a lot of multi-sport guys in their program. Jeremy Moore does a great job with them. But Huntsville actually ended up having to play Sparkman, an area foe. And Sparkman actually jumped on Huntsville and was up 11-3, and then Huntsville went on a 40-9 run to put that game away, and then soundly defeat Sparkman. And by the way, our good friend Jamie Coggins, who's been such a great friend of 97.7 The Zone, he has retired along with his longtime assistant David Hughes. So it's going to be a new era of Sparkman basketball. They have not hired their permanent head coach yet, so it was a little surreal watching Huntsville compete against Sparkman when you've seen Jamie Coggins the last decade plus do such great things with that Sparkman program.
Well, good for him getting a little bit of break from the sports, but also going to be intriguing to see how that Sparkman team plays moving forward.
And another note before I go, too, this was sent by Mark McLeod. This is how tough a schedule Florida played. You guys were talking about going to Omaha. Yeah. But if Georgia does beat NC State at 6 o'clock tonight, Florida will have played all 5 of those, with counting Florida State, because 4 SEC, 1 ACC, because they played Florida State during the regular season. But Florida would have played 5 teams, 15 games, against 15 total games, but 5 of the teams in Omaha. If Georgia ends up winning, they won 2 of those 5 series against Texas A&M and Georgia. Texas A&M the first series of the year in SEC, and Georgia the last. And that Georgia series win actually helped them get into the postseason. Yeah. But they were 6-9 against those in those 15 games. But they would have played 5 College World Series participants, 4 SEC and 1 ACC. So that just shows you why Florida got in, why they had the number 1 strength of schedule, playing 15 games against teams that are in Omaha, potentially.
Same story goes for their football schedule, too. One of the toughest in the country. And we're definitely looking forward to that whenever football season arrives. But, Drew, good stuff from you, man. Glad you had a safe, fun weekend up in Tennessee. But we got to hop out of here, go into our next segment. And when we get there, a little bit of interesting storylines coming your way here on the Morning Blitz on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Normally, when you call a roofing company...
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandiman. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
So next time you think flow, think fun for everyone. You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Online at 977ESPN.com.
Stream them online.
Call in.
It's an important job, and it's an vital organization.
Tweet in and join in. We are 977 ESPN The Zone.
Hello and welcome back in to the Morning Blitz. So I love the fade out, Bandy. It's a really, really good stuff from you, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate the entire station as we get things prepared for the RCAs. A week from today, oh boy, we got lots of work to do, and you know what? I'm ready to take it all. I think it's going to be a wonderful night. It's going to be great, and you guys could still get in 97.7 WZZN events at gmail.com is the email you need to go to. If you can't remember all of that, you'll also be able to find us on social media online, and the email will be there for you guys to contact. And on top of that, you can call into the show at 256-5764-977 and hop on with us to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Or you can use our WZZN TV chat line on our YouTube page. But Bandy, I know we got somebody on the line. Is he still there?
Yep. Steeler Mike is still on the line. What's going on, Steeler Mike?
What's going on, fellas? Is Drew still there with you guys?
Oh, no.
Not anymore.
No, he was quick in and out. That's just how it is. You can just say something, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I hate that because, I'm from the East Tennessee area, go Vols, and through my connections, I've got it hooked up where Drew, if he could make it out to Omaha, him and Fulmer could sit together, his best buddy. And I feel like, if we get him out there and Fulmer and Heupel, he'll just be in heaven.
Dude, sit him right in between both of them.
With a Vols jersey, too. We got to get him one.
He's going to be pissed at us.
Oh, yeah. And a reminder, and Drew knows this, we're less than 3 weeks away to see my Pirates and the Braves. I'll have 2 posters that day. Number one, I'll have a Sid was out poster that I traditionally hang up when I go to Braves Pirates games, and the other one is DeArmond and Biden in 2024. Oh, no. So, and I'll have them both, and I hope Drew's prepared and can get that on his cable station to see his shout out on national TV.
Dude,
if possible.
We could make that commercial like reality where there's like actually Drew DeArmond for president 2024.
But I must say, bringing up the Pirates too. I mean, how do you feel about Paul Skeens and his MLB rookie season? Just kind of laying waste to the MLB right now.
So it's crazy, guys. As a Pirate fan, and I'm 50 years old, and I grew up a Pirate fan. My dad's from Pittsburgh. And so I've never had a chance to watch the Pirates every night. Well, I got DirecTV where I wanted them, and I got the Major League Baseball package.
Yeah.
And so I've watched the Pirates almost every night and just really, really gotten into it. And, of course, we're a sub-500 team right now. But starting pitching's been phenomenal. It's not just been Skeens. It's been Jones. It's been a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
It's been the bats that have hurt. But, this is a low-market, low-budget baseball team, and it can be done. We've seen it be done before, but it's so tough. But they've got a good nucleus. They've got a lot of great young arms, but it's just the bats. Timely hitting. Yeah. It's gotten a little better, but,
it'll come in time.
Looking forward to
No.
Do what?
It'll come in time. It's all just at least you're not the Angels. At least you're not the Angels.
Yeah, you guys have a great day, and be safe, please.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. You too, Steeler Mike.
Bye-bye.
Good stuff from him. I would have been fine with talking a little bit more Tennessee baseball, honestly. I know. I am not a huge Tennessee Vols fan, guys. Don't make it sound like it. Roll Tide all the way, but I'm fine whenever the SEC's doing well. It makes me happy. That's at least what I was growing up in. Either way, Bandy, we got some video games to rewatch the trailers of course, from this past weekend. We might even talk a little bit more video gaming this week than ever before and maybe set up a whole new show. Who knows?
Who knows?
That's just what's coming up. Either way, we'll be back in 23 hours to bring you guys more of the action-packed Morning Blitz fun here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. We'll see you guys next time.
Located in the heart of Research Park, Shaggy's Burgers and Tacos is the perfect spot to curb your